Education, outreach, and politics are three that really come to mind in terms of what the federations could and should be doing to support the locals and the bargaining units.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Adam, let's go ahead and talk to us about the structures of the labor movement, some of the highlights, some important things for folks to know as they are learning about unions or trying to get involved in their union. What are some of the things that folks should know about the structures within the labor movement?
Yeah, it's helpful to know the different layers to the onion, and so wanted to just mention that you have a bargaining unit, which is typically your smallest, unit of workers that you're involved in. Your bargaining unit is at your employer. That would be the folks that you work alongside, and you're going to be bargaining for a contract with the same employer, and you'll be covered by the same contract, those of you in this bargaining unit. But the bargaining unit may be one of many inside of your local union. You'll be a member of a local, but you may be alongside folks who work at different companies, folks who are in different bargaining units. And so one really good example of this would be the Nonprofit Employees Union, NPEU. They actually represent some of our friends at the Economic Policy Institute, Jobs to Move America, some other, nonprofits across the country, actually. They have members all over, right? And so there are multiple different bargaining units within NPEU that, like I just named, those different employers, right? But NPEU, the Nonprofit Employees Union, is just one local of a bigger union, which is called the IFPTE. And so that international is a member of the AFL-CIO. So you have a bargaining unit that is a member of a local union. Your local union is affiliated with some sort of national or international union, typically. And then in many, but not all cases, your national or international union will belong to a federation. The national federation is the AFL-CIO, American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations. It merged back in 1955. It's been the biggest labor federation ever since, but it's not the only one. Change to Win is another one out there. And so you could be a member of multiple organizations, and it's important to know where your membership actually lies and understand those differences between the bargaining unit, the broader local, and where your local sits in the overall structure of your national or international union, because they're all structured differently in terms of, what influence you may have as a local union or as a bargaining unit inside of a local union. They all have different forms of democracy in terms of who elects who, what kind of positions do what. So those are all things to look into and to kind of explore as you go through your journey in the union movement, right? Because you need to know the lay of the land. You need to know the landscape and who you're engaging with and the different layers to membership. And the last thing I'll mention on this is that there are regional federations as well called labor councils, often called CLCs, Central Labor Councils, sometimes called labor federations, but these are regional bodies. And your local does not have to belong to these regional bodies, just like your local does not have to belong to the state federation of the AFL-CIO or the national federation necessarily. And in some cases, you may belong to a union that is part of the AFL-CIO, but does not belong to the state federation or the regional federation, right? So those are all things to explore and figure out, especially as a new member or as someone who's getting newly engaged and you're trying to get more involved in your union. Find out, are we part of the AFL-CIO? And if so, are we part of the state labor federation? Are we part of our local labor council? And if not, why not? and what do we need to do to look into that? Is it relevant? I would argue that the regional labor federations, the labor councils, are an incredibly important asset, and we're really proud of the work we're doing here in North Alabama. And I think there's a lot of exciting work happening with labor councils across the country. So I would encourage every union member listening, get involved in your local labor council and find out to what extent your local is involved with it, how you could support more, how you could get involved, because it's a great avenue for collaboration, right? It's the basic concepts of unions. There's strength in numbers. The more we come together, the stronger we are. So when different unions, different locals come together and cooperate and collaborate, of course, we're stronger that way as well. So that's a little bit about the basics of kind of understanding the structures of unions. But I think it's helpful to know just what you're a member of and how you can get involved at those different layers.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
When we're thinking about, one of the reasons that you want to know the different structures within the labor movement and how they interact with one another is so that you can be thinking about strategies for the most effective use of each body, right? So a local union is going to be able to do and is best position to do different things than an international union, or maybe than a state council within your union, or than a central labor council, which is a federation of unions. What would be, I think, what the local union does really kind of speaks for itself. What are some best practices of like state federations of a union, like a state council of the machinists, for example, and then the international unions? What are some of the best practices for those different bodies? And then central labor councils, which are federations of different unions. What are some of the things that those different bodies can do and do best?
Right. I think by pulling resources together, you can do more in terms of education and outreach, providing training. That's something that, I look towards federations to do, is provide training for their affiliates and their members, any sort of education, but also politics, frankly, is a big part of that. And coming up with some shared political priorities and some form of a political program that meets the needs of the various affiliates inside the federation or the council, whichever it may be. That's going to be one of the biggest task ahead, I believe, and that's something that if your state federation or your regional labor council doesn't have some active political presence when it comes to monitoring local government, when it comes to monitoring state government, interacting with legislators and local elected officials, right? Those are all opportunities for regional federations and state federations to really get involved and to do more than just one local by itself. It's powerful when you can go to an elected official and say, hey, we represent 11 different unions, right? And these 11 different unions cover thousands of different workers across the region that do all sorts of jobs, from cooks and cashiers to rocket scientists to building trades, blue collar workers to professional workers and everything in between. So I think education and outreach alongside, and I will say in the outreach comms and communications, putting out material and information and communicating with folks, getting information flowing from the bargaining units and the locals all the way out across to allies and vice versa, I think is really, really important as well. So, education, outreach, and politics are three that really come to mind in terms of what the federations could and should be doing to support the locals and the bargaining units.
one of the things, and you know, I mean, folks that listen to the folks that listen to this program know that we're intimately involved in our labor council here in North Alabama. I'm the president. Adam is a trustee, and you know, one of the things that we would that we're doing right now is you know, an education campaign in the local high schools, you know, talking to them about the benefits of unions and unionism and career opportunities and some labor history, and you know, that's a really exciting thing. And then, you know, on a horizon, one of my visions for the future is that as we start, you know, that when one of our affiliates is bargaining a contract, that affiliate does not feel like they are bargaining a contract themselves. They feel like they are part of a labor movement that is that is working together on the contract negotiation and making a better life for their members and also for our community, and making a better North Alabama for everybody. And that's something that and you know, the kind of practical and logistical and material ways that can happen is you know, you have obviously rallies where other members of the community are coming out in support of you. You can have material support being given during a strike, for example. You can have other local unions that are intertwined in similar businesses begin aligning their contract expirations. That's something that we've seen in Minnesota, so that you do not feel pressure to cross a picket line, or even not to just cross a picket line, but to do something within that supply chain that is going to benefit the struck company, right? There are things that are done today in America that are not, quote unquote, crossing a picket line, that are still ultimately to the benefit of a company that is being struck, that union workers are doing and feel like they have to do because they are within a contract. And so aligning contracts, particularly within strategic industries, is something really important, and that can be coordinated through a labor council, and bargaining for, you know, community-wide bargaining for the public good, community-wide issues, things that will ultimately be to the benefit of people outside of that workplace as well as within it. You know, those are some things, kind of like, you know, if you're you know, to bring us down from, you know, ethereally, you know, cooperation, you know, bringing us down to like what would that actually look like, and you know, so those are some
absolutely, and being in coalition with community and faith and nonprofit, other partners, allies,
right,
helping to build those coalitions, I think, is really important as well.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.